So this was the status of the macroeconomy in July. Bitcoin was appreciating 55%. It was trouncing the NASDAQ and the S&P. Gold was a laggard. Silver was lame. Bonds were losers. The entire industry needs Bitcoin as their ethically sound, economically sound, technically sound foundation if they're to have any future. And I think you guys should be very, very proud of that development. 12 months, what's going on? Bitcoin is still running hard, running harder than it has been, up 61%. The Magnificent Seven and the S&P are underperforming. They're struggling. The tariff wars, the trade wars have been a challenge for them. There's been a general mainstream lagging of confidence, and that's caused a surge in gold. But Bitcoin is running much harder than gold. Real estate soldiers on, and bonds continue to fail. Bitcoin's outperforming all asset classes this decade, too.
Michael Saylor emphasizes Bitcoin's dominance in the current macroeconomic landscape, noting its 61% rise while traditional assets like stocks, gold, and bonds underperform. He views Bitcoin not as speculation, but as the most economically, ethically, and technically sound asset available today. Institutional and government support for Bitcoin is growing rapidly. Major U.S. political figures, Wall Street firms, and global regulators are embracing it. Public companies are adding Bitcoin to their balance sheets, recognizing its potential to outperform and protect against inflation. Saylor argues we're witnessing a financial revolution. While most of the world is still unaware, Bitcoin is becoming the foundation of the global digital economy, one that outpaces traditional investments and rewrites the rules of capital markets.
Those of you who were in Nashville last July, I presented a few slides, and I want to take you back 11 months. So this was the status of the macroeconomy in July. Bitcoin was appreciating 55%. It was trouncing the NASDAQ and the S&P. Gold was a laggard. Silver was lame. Bonds were losers. Bitcoin was $1 trillion asset class. It was just less than 0.1% of the wealth in the world. But we could see that something was going to change. I presented a forecast in July, and I said, I really think my base case is Bitcoin's going to grow 29% a year for the next 21 years. And that's going to cause it to appreciate to $13 million Bitcoin. We had a macro forecast, and that meant that Bitcoin was growing to be 7% of all global assets. And it was growing to be its own asset class. And you can see here, $280 trillion, but the preeminent monetary asset in the world. So all of that was last July. Bitcoin was $65,000. What happened since? 11 months. Okay, this is extraordinary. I was, as Joe said, I was bullish last July. I've always been bullish, but when Bitcoin dipped to $16,000 during crypto winter, I was bullish. But stuff that's happened in the past 11 months has been extraordinary. The White House has embraced Bitcoin. This is an extraordinary development. We didn't anticipate this. We hoped that we would get a favorable administration, and we hope we get support, and we had this inkling, but November 5th brought a sea change in politics, and although we thought we might have a pro-Bitcoin president, we didn't think we'd get a strategic Bitcoin reserve. We didn't think that the president would say, America will be the Bitcoin superpower of the world. This is an amazing development. The new administration, J.D. Vance, pro-Bitcoin, Robert F. Kennedy, pro-Bitcoin, Tulsi Gabbard, pro-Bitcoin, Kelly Loeffler, pro-Bitcoin, Paul Atkins, pro-Bitcoin, Brian Kentez, pro-Bitcoin, Scott Bessent, pro-Bitcoin, David Sachs, a new position, cabinet-level position, not just pro-Bitcoin, a cabinet member that would go on television and say Bitcoin is the one decentralized crypto network in the world. It is special. It is the digital commodity, right? The one thing that we've all known, but a cabinet member in the United States government says it. He said it in March of this year. Howard Lutnick, pro-Bitcoin. Kash Patel, pro-Bitcoin. Every one of these cabinet members flipped from 12 months earlier, where there would have been no one that would have been as bullish on Bitcoin as what we saw here. Wall Street embraced Bitcoin. $150 billion of capital, 1.4 million Bitcoin. This entire dynamic started in January of last year, but it accelerated after July. Public companies. My company was the first public company to adopt Bitcoin. People thought we were crazy. I thought we were late. Like some of you, I kept thinking that I got it right in 2013. Like, why didn't I buy in 2013? In 2020, I thought I was late. But what happened next is the second company, the third, then 130. Then companies like Trump Media and GameStop in 21. And now companies are racing to get into the Bitcoin 100. Used to be, we thought, oh, it'd be great. There's 10 Bitcoin companies and 20. Now there's 100. Now there's more than 100. Now we're all going to compete to move up the leaderboard. Yeah, let the games begin. Bitcoin wasn't an institutional asset. It wasn't cool on Wall Street. People thought it might be toxic. Well, now I have a whole set of equity analysts that write research and publish their research to investors, and they put a price target on Bitcoin. So now you have the entire equity capital markets embracing the asset class, writing about it, opining on it. You know, we went from an oddity, tulip bulbs maybe going away, to an entire array of analysts and investment banks starting to have an opinion. And of course, if you look at all the prices up there, their opinion is all positive, it's all bullish. Technology investors have embraced Bitcoin. What you see there is the Bank of America investment analyst equating Bitcoin to something as profound as the light bulb, the Model T, the World Wide Web. Right? That's a very important rotation. Bitcoin is a technology. Bitcoin's not a speculation. Bitcoin is not an oddity. Bitcoin is not anarchy. Bitcoin is just the next great technology.
Michael Saylor emphasizes Bitcoin's dominance, outperforming all major assets including stocks, gold, and bond. He sees it as a sound, decentralized alternative in a world of declining trust in traditional finance. He notes a major shift as institutions, governments, and public companies embrace Bitcoin, marking the start of a global financial transformation with Bitcoin at its core.
Financial regulators embrace Bitcoin. This you never believe. The head of the OCC says banks should support Bitcoin. The Fed says it's okay for banks. They should get on and start supporting Bitcoin. The accountants say you need to provide fair accounting for Bitcoin. The SEC says it's okay to create ETFs of Bitcoin. This is an amazing development. Capitol Hill embraced Bitcoin. The House, the Senate, the Cabinet, You've got three bills, the Clarity Act, the Genius Act, the Bitcoin Act, all moving through Congress right now. This is something nobody guessed, no one conceived of a year ago. States in the United States are embracing Bitcoin. Governors, right? There's legislation working its way through state legislative branches everywhere. You know, Bitcoin is money for everybody. Bitcoin is for everybody, and everybody is getting interested in it. International governments embrace Bitcoin. Spokespeople for the UK, for Ireland, for Pakistan, for Bhutan, for El Salvador, for Russia, in China, in Hong Kong, in Europe, everywhere, right? They all have an opinion. Their opinion is this is very important. This is an extraordinary movement. The crypto industry has embraced Bitcoin. And this is extraordinary. You should all give yourself a hand because you've won. These are all public statements from the last 12 months, and let me tell you how I interpret this. This is everybody in the crypto ecosystem acknowledging that Bitcoin is the foundation of the crypto economy. Bitcoin is the reserve currency of the crypto economy. Bitcoin is the one central, certain, unshakable protocol and the fulcrum, the focal point of the entire industry. Everything else is built on top of it. There's been an unprecedented coalition that's come together in support of Bitcoin, and I think a realization that the entire industry needs Bitcoin as their ethically sound, economically sound, technically sound foundation if they're to have any future. And I think you guys should be very, very proud of that development. 12 months, what's going on? Bitcoin is still running hard, running harder than it has been, up 61%. The Magnificent Seven and the S&P are underperforming. They're struggling. The tariff wars, the trade wars have been a challenge for them. There's been a general mainstream lagging of confidence, and that's caused a surge in gold. But Bitcoin is running much harder than gold. Real estate soldiers on and bonds continue to fail. Bitcoin's outperforming all asset classes this decade too. So it continues with what you would expect, 56% on average ARR for the past nearly 5 years. More than double the Mag 7. That's more than double, about double the S&P. You've got gold, a little bit of a surge starting to catch up, but gold's still underperforming the S&P, and real estate less. This is an important chart. Here's what this chart is telling you. The cost of equity is 13%. That means that if a company's capitalized on gold, real estate, bonds, soybeans, oil, any other commodity, it can't beat the cost of equity. You cannot sell equity to buy real estate. It's dilutive. There is only one asset that a company in the world can hold that you can capitalize on that is higher than the cost of equity, and that is Bitcoin. And so you see the explosion in Bitcoin treasury companies is because now that the world's recognized a digital commodity, they also recognize it beats the cost of equity. That means that every public company, in theory, should recapitalize on Bitcoin, because when they sell equity, they're actually generating profits. They're creating an accretive transaction for their shareholders, right? The world is waking up to this. You see that hence you see an explosion, in the shares of Metaplanet and Smarter Web and H100 and Blockchain Group, right? This is going to continue. These companies are going to catch fire everywhere in the world, in every capital market, for one simple reason. Investors can see that 56% is more than 13%. It's just that simple. And this is it's a very powerful dynamic. And yet Bitcoin is just 20 basis points of global wealth. So here's an interesting thing. We are now at an inflection point. We have all the information to know Bitcoin is winning, and yet the majority, 99.8% of the capital in the world, still pretends and acts like it isn't. Most is still oblivious. You know something the rest of the world has not yet acknowledged, and yet it couldn't be clearer to all of us in this room. There's a monetary revolution afoot, a revolution in economic thinking. It's spreading everywhere in the world. It's fueled by the digital transformation of the capital markets that you see manifested in all of these companies and all of these securities and all of this Bitcoin activity. And it's going to be accelerated by explosive financial innovation. That innovation is surging.
Michael Saylor emphasizes that Bitcoin has outperformed every major asset class, including stocks, bonds, and gold, proving its strength as a long-term store of value. Over the past year, institutional adoption has surged, Wall Street has embraced it, and governments have started recognizing its potential as a strategic asset. He sees this momentum as the start of a global monetary shift. As trust in traditional systems fades, Bitcoin's decentralized and fixed supply nature offers a stable foundation. Saylor believes this growing support signals a revolution in finance. Do you think Bitcoin will replace gold as the top hedge asset? Is the world ready for a Bitcoin-based financial system? Share your thoughts in the comments.